Hey everyone, this is the second part of last week's episode. If you didn't hear it, hit pause, go back a week to catch up.
And those are the moments that I am forever
They're
grateful.
priceless.
Yes, exactly.
They're priceless.
And we live in a video world now, but how do you save it? How do you store it? Can you get it back? But my boys, that's something that we do usually every Father's Day is revisit those tapes because it takes us, we can all go back there in a different way, but we all go back to that place.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexie Callies. Do you feel the squeeze of caring for an elderly loved one and school-aged children? Then welcome to the Sandwich Stories. Let's dig in.
But yeah, it's,
Aw.
so it was hard for my mom too, but yeah, to go through all of those feelings of yourself, but no, you have to keep the ship afloat and to
You do?
make everybody run, and bills are being paid, and you still have a house and
Yeah.
all the things that go with it.
Yeah. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times as women, that was one of the things I'm like, oh, well, I'm sure other people are handling this, even better than me,
There's not a handbook.
There's not. And I didn't know anybody else who was going through this.
Nope.
We went once to a support group.
Okay. How did that go?
My husband hated it.
How did you feel about it?
Well, I will tell you quite honestly, I was surprised to see. So there were people there who had lost loved ones to ALS like 10 or 15 years ago, older people.
Yes.
Then there were people there who actually had ALS that they were rolling in beds who had the feeding tube and the breathing tube and all of that. So it ran the gamut. All right. So I wasn't really, because it was for both the caregiver and for the person with ALS. And my husband quite honestly said,
we're done.
I can't watch this.
No.
I don't want, I can't unsee that. But if I'm headed there, I
don't want to see it every day.
Thank you.
Or I don't want to see it every week. Whatever the amount of time
it was. It's some things are better left to our imagination, I guess.
Yes.
And what I realized too is that it's not uncommon for people in this situation to take measures into their own hands.
I'm sure
it happens.
Yes,
it happens.
Now,
and that's a whole nother conversation.
No, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Did you feel that your husband? Did you have a conversation like that? No, he never brought it up.
Never brought it. No.
Okay.
And which is one of the reasons why I still, in hindsight, I mean, I had admiration for him as we went through this journey, but no, he finished well. And that was one of the things I wanted to help him do.
Okay.
Was finish well, which is a whole nother talk we could have about this ending process.
Yes.
Because
I don't think people know what it is.
No, and they don't give it the respect that it deserves.
Yes.
100%. Which is exactly what it deserves is respect.
It does. Yes.
And because we minimize it to a point, and that's the one thing that I'm still upset with his parents, my parents. Have you guys made it clear what you want, how you want it?
Yeah.
Does anybody know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And they've not had these conversations.
Well, I talked to him about it. I figured after, because John's brother had died 10 years earlier.
Oh, gosh.
So I thought, and Ronald was only 40. And then John dies at 50. And then Elaine's second husband, Papa Van, has a heart attack 8 years later. And even then, there's just, now I understand sometimes, nobody wants to talk about it.
No.
But even when I would try to have these conversations with John, it's too much. I get that. You have to keep coming back to it. But we could do a whole session, Lexie, on what clarity and what a gift that is.
Yes. I have had a couple discussions about this on the show.
Yes.
We've had an estate attorney on before. We've talked about a few things, but yes, I am 100%. I don't feel that enough people talk about it. And I grew up in a family that we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, you knew it was not taboo. We were all very practical.
Yes.
My mom was like, oh yeah, we live in a very practical WASPy family. This is the way it goes. And we just lay it out.
Exactly.
And so even when I was younger, my grandmother would say, oh, what do you want in this house? When I pass away, what is it that you want?
Oh,
you know,
so
and
good.
so you got the sticky note.
Yes.
The sticky note went on the bottom of the chair.
Yes.
Whatever it is. Oh, Grammy passed away. Oh, look, Lexie's name is on there, and it's been there since 1991. She was 11. She picked that out when she was 11. Whatever. But then there's never a question. And my parents did the same thing. They knew I have always known. And I've even said, when I was younger, I have this weird fear that I was going to be in a coma. Something was going to happen, an accident. I'd be in a coma, and that my parents would. I hate the term pulling the plug. I hate that term, but that they would decide to let me pass too early. That I could have come out of it. And that I would have been fine. And I could have come out of it, but you didn't give me enough time to come out of it.
Right.
And so we discussed that also. My mom said, yes, I know what the fear is. We have decided on a certain amount of time, and this is what we will give you. Unless a doctor says something else, then we will let you pass. And I was okay with that, but it was just this thought that, and I was 21 years old, saying these things.
Yes.
And so, I think the discussions you have to grow up with the discussions.
You're right.
And do you find, so your boys are how old now?
Well, my boys are now 28 and 24.
Okay. So did you, since then, have you had discussions with them, what they want, and have put it in writing?
Well, not about what they want, but they know about what mom
you
wants.
Want. Yes.
And, that's the other piece of it, is when we had John's celebration of life, Jake wanted to recite a poem, The Dash.
Okay.
So he worked on it, and he worked on it, and his teacher helped him because he was memorizing it. He didn't want to read it. Well, about 2 days before the service, his older brother John says, oh, well, can I get in on that? And Jake, being the guy that he is, said, sure, John. So they both recited this poem, and the book has actually QR codes that will, because I had the foresight to videotape the service.
Oh, wow.
Because I knew I wouldn't remember it the right way.
Yeah.
And they were so young. I wanted them to have that
moment.
Yes. So that they could go back and see all of these people speaking about and talking about their dad.
Yeah.
So, and then we had, of course, the little wristbands made that said "Live Your Dash" with their dad's name on it. And so, because there were a lot of kids, there were a lot of kids at this service, and I got calls ahead of time. Is John going to be laid out?
Oh yeah. Is there an open casket?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no, he's cremated, and there's going to be a great big picture and a lot of flowers. So it's going to be okay.
Right. Yes.
But I knew for a lot of these kids, it was going to be the first time to go to something like this. Right. So very aware of that. And then, fun note is that we had the reception afterwards at the church. The boys, I said, what do you think we should serve for lunch? And they said, pizza. We should have pizza. So I ordered like 600 pizzas.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of pizza.
That's a lot of pizza. And I dare say anybody has been to a reception where they serve pizza, but this was a kid friendly and a kid forward event because, and then we had a different event later that night for all the people that had come in from out of town once again, I had the videographer there. And one of the sweetest parts of that whole video is all the kids in their jerseys talking about Mr. Schneider and what they remember about Jake's dad.
Yeah.
And those are the moments that I am forever grateful.
Priceless.
Yes, exactly.
They're priceless.
And we live in a video world now. I mean, everything is
everything is on film.
Yes. But how do you save it? How do you store it? When can you get it back? but my boys, that's something that we do usually every Father's Day, is revisit those tapes, because it takes us, we can all go back there in a different way, but we all go back to that place.
Have you found that to be therapeutic for yourself?
Yes, without a doubt. I have found, and what I find even more so, because Jake, that youngest one, he physically and emotionally, I guess, is so much more like his father. He's got more of his personality. And I will say to him, oh, when he does something, I'll go, you really remind me of your dad when you do that or say that. The saddest thing is when he says, Mom, I know you say that, and I know you mean well by that. He goes, but it's hard. I don't remember Dad that way. Gosh. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, that's
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Well, when you're 10, I mean, let's think about it. How much do you remember when you're 10?
No, and your world is, it's so centric to you. You are 10. Children should be this way. They're allowed to be this way. Yes. They're allowed to be. Yes. They're allowed to be selfish.
Yes.
They're allowed to worry about themselves and what's important to them.
Yes.
They don't need to be carrying the burden and worrying about everybody and everything else in their life. So yes, to not remember,
it's okay. And it's
okay. And that's okay.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why I am so glad
that's why
that I have this.
That. Yeah. I mean, I was going through my mom's my son just got a phone for the very first time this past Easter. Okay. So we waited a long time.
Yes, you did.
But that's okay. And so we got my mom's old phone because she's not using her Apple anymore.
Okay.
And so I had to get photos off, and I was like, oh, Grammy, he was like, where's my phone? I was like, Grammy still had photos on there. I need to make sure, because there were photos of my dad I didn't know were on there. Aww. Video. And then there were a couple videos of my dad that I didn't know were on there. I was like, these need to come off. And so it's just, so you don't, and so even for me, I was like, I didn't know these were there. And to be able to have those in that moment.
Huge.
And then I show my son, because he was 2020, so he was 8. He was, he only remembers Grandpa Charlie.
Exactly.
In a very specific way.
Correct.
And so, you don't, we talk about him.
Yes.
We say things, and, oh, Grandpa Charlie would have been this, or, or, oh my gosh, if you acted that way, Grandpa Charlie, had I acted the way you just acted, Grandpa Charlie would have had my hide. You're lucky, and you're lucky he's not here, because he would have had your hide too.
Exactly.
I would not have cared if he was your grandpa. He would have not have flown. But so it's the good, and so my son takes it in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is hard when you're that young to remember.
Exactly.
But I also couldn't imagine expecting a child to remember everything. They can barely remember what they had for breakfast.
Exactly.
They remember important things. Mm-hmm. There's always something that sticks. There's always key foundational moments that are in them, and that they will always remember. But it's always the little nuance,
Exactly. And that's why writing the second book will be about the story of the boys, the battle, and the Bible, because and I've already figured out how I want to go about doing that. Like, what do you guys remember about this and this and this?
Yes.
Because John went down that, let's start with the marijuana. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's numb the pain. How do we?
Right.
So,
yeah.
And Jake went off into the sports land. If it had a ball, he was doing it. So children, grief, it's a whole, and then trying, of course, to get the right help, because like I said, it didn't come until after.
Yeah, it doesn't come until after. Yeah. And I think, and like you said, 17 years ago was a long, the way we look at mental health now with children is huge.
Yeah.
It's so different. So, it's funny, in my household, my son, he has a perfectionist personality.
Okay.
And so we originally found a therapist to help him.
Okay.
Because to push through certain things, because he was like, well, if I can't do it right the first time, why should I do it?
Right.
or he'd get frustrated at school. Well, I've already shown them I know how to do this. Why do I have to keep showing them I know how to do this?
Yes.
Don't they get it? I've already got an A on that. I don't need to keep showing I know how to multiply.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
And so we started with that. But then we found that your therapist, when they're little or they're younger, if you only see a child psychiatrist or a child's therapist, they're not licensed to see the whole family. They're not licensed, so they don't get the whole picture. They see from the child, and sometimes they do a check-in, but it's a different thing. So then I was going through my own stuff with my mom and my dad and all the things. So then I started seeing the same therapist, but with my own time.
Yes.
But then as a family, we would split the time. So maybe 15 minutes as a family check-in. This is what we need to talk about. This is what's been going on. Shelby would have his own time, or he would have his own time. And then as parents, he might step out, and as parents, we would talk. Now, if there was something that Shelby said, I don't want whatever to talk, don't talk to my parents.
Right.
She won't betray that trust.
Right.
But if it's just something that we all agree should be a check-in, then we talk about it.
Right.
And then my husband sees her on his own. So we all have our own time.
Yes.
But then she gets the whole picture.
So important.
So that I hope when the day comes that when my mom does pass, and who knows when that will be, that the foundation will be there for my son to already have someone to talk to and to help go through the process, but that I already have someone to go to talk through, because she's already helped me through the grief after my dad died. So it's like and she knows, my therapist knows obviously a lot of my life and what I go through, but sometimes she has a different level of empathy because she had to go through some of that with her parents, like moving them to assisted living and what that looked like. And then her mother passing also, with dementia. So she just has a different level of knowledge, which I do like.
Yes.
But yeah, I think having so many more things when it comes to therapy it's been a game changer.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I agree.
And so I do hope that anyone who is listening with children, that if you feel that they need therapy, don't be afraid to get it for them, even if they're little.
Oh,
and it does not have to be play therapy. I do have to say we started with play therapy.
Okay. Okay.
And my son was first grade.
All right.
First grade, something like that, for almost second. And he figured out therapist real fast.
See, they're so
because he's super smart. Because he said something one day she started talking to him. He goes, "Why are you doing that therapy voice? Why are you talking like that? That's a therapy voice."
Whoa.
Like, what? Why don't you talk to me like a normal person?
Yeah.
And he's 7 years old.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple times that he figured her out real fast, and I'm like, yeah, play therapy is not the place for you. But you think that that's where they need to start.
Yes.
And I have learned that children, unless they don't know how to play, don't go to play therapy.
Okay.
The play therapy is great if you don't know how to play.
Okay.
And my son had no problems with that.
Okay.
So then that's when we found talk therapist. And she plays games with him.
Yeah.
But it's talking, but playing the game Sorry or whatever it is, and those kinds of things. So I hope that with I don't know who you do you speak to other families who are going through the same thing you've gone through? Do you ever show up to events where they might have younger children whose mother, father, whomever it is, might be going through some of the same struggles?
I have a friend of mine who actually started a camp for kids.
Wow.
Who specifically had lost their parents.
Yes.
or a parent to ALS.
Okay.
She doesn't offer it here in Texas. But Jody's done an amazing job with recognizing, and I think I was just seeing something about another organization that is bringing a camp I think it's in Mineral Wells,
Mhm.
2 kids who
Yeah.
have lost someone
Right.
to something.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to just be ALS.
Right.
And there is so much around kids and grief
Mhm.
that part of my hope is, yes, with the publication of my
Mhm.
first book,
Yes.
that I'll be able to get in front of some of those parents.
Yeah.
And also, some of those therapists, because I think what I found for me is that, I mean, to what we've been discussing,
Mhm.
there wasn't that focus that there
Right.
was. I mean, now we're so siloed.
Mhm.
We've got kids, and then we have addiction, and then we have
Mhm.
grief, and then we have, divorce, or we have
Mhm.
relationship, or we have
Yes.
all kinds of, autism, all of
Yeah.
that. There's so many more resources
Yes.
now
Yes.
that is something that I'm so thankful for, because I went through a lot trying to
I'm
get the
sure.
right kind of help for John,
Yeah.
my oldest. And ultimately we had to have a full-on intervention, and he went into rehab.
Yeah.
I was actually in rehab with Johnny Manziel. And we're just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh.
When he came home and told his little brother's like, did you get me an autograph?
Oh
and
my gosh.
John's
He's
like,
like,
no, that's
no,
not cool.
that's not what you do.
Yeah.
Not a. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel is a whole nother story altogether.
Yeah, I know.
And for those who don't know,
No,
Johnny Manziel was a football player. He was what they call him, Johnny Football.
Johnny Football.
Johnny Football. He played for A&M. He was a star player for A&M.
Yes.
Had an
Talent.
amazing potential. I think he got drafted with the Browns and lasted about a year.
Yeah. And he went, I mean,
he should have been the next phenom.
Yeah, he should have been the next Brady.
Yeah.
He won the Heisman as like a freshman.
Yeah, he was but sadly addiction took over his life. And yeah, so for those who don't know who Johnny Manziel is, that's who that is. He's especially for those of us in Texas who are A&M fans.
Oh, we
was all know.
Yeah, you say Johnny Manziel and people are like, oh yeah.
Or they're like, oh, Johnny Football.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that was
yeah.
And so yeah. So that's where rehab started. It's not where it ended, but that's another.
Yeah, that's something totally. That's something totally different.
Yes.
But yeah. So when you look back after over everything, what is kind of your takeaway and your thoughts to your journey with your husband?
With my husband. And with my kids.
Well, yes, with your children too.
Yeah.
Because they are a massive important,
I would say the first thing is my faith.
Okay.
I think without it, I would have been in a fetal position.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it made everything okay. And
Right.
I'm not saying that it made it necessarily easier.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am saying is that I knew, well, I thought if anybody was going to be cured of ALS, it was going to be my husband.
Right.
Because I just thought, we serve a God who works miracles, and I
Yes.
still believe that he does. So why not?
Yeah.
And I think it was probably about 10 months before John died that I kind of went, oh,
yeah,
that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what I know for me is that God never leaves us. Mm-hmm. He's always there. Jesus is real, just like this.
Yeah.
My husband would say, "Who are you talking to?" Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are you talking about? You.
Yeah.
Well, why? Because I don't know how I don't like what's happening today, or I need some help,
yes, or
I'm not liking the way that I'm feeling, or I don't want to be upset with you.
Right.
So I need to talk to him.
Yeah.
And so and also my kids, I think them seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it got really ugly.
I'm sure.
Caregiving is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not.
No. And, I never thought of myself as a caregiver. I'm not really a nurturing person. So I'm like, me, caregiver, I know I raised you kids. I got you. I'm feeding you. I'm clothing you. I'm driving you.
Yeah.
That's what care looks like. Right.
Yes.
So I think for me, the faith piece and also just recognizing that we don't have to put on a brave face all the time.
That has been something I've had to learn. I'm not good at that either. Yeah.
Yeah. And letting people, they don't need to see it all the time, but we are not, I mean, we're not Superwoman or whatever, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
We're not Wonder Woman. But what I do know too, Lexie, is that we're all, as believers, we're gifted with the supernatural power of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
We forget that.
Yeah.
We forget that that's what Jesus left within us as the comforter.
Right.
So in those moments where literally the kids are crying or the dog is barking or the husband is yelling or whatever's going, dinner's burning, I don't know what to do. It used to be Calgon, take me away. But that for all of you, that was a commercial. That was a commercial, an advertisement for a bath product.
Yes.
But now it's, okay, Holy Spirit, I don't even know what to pray. I don't even know what to ask for. But you do. So please intercede for me.
Right.
Because I just need to get through the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe even the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I don't know how.
Right.
And in those moments, and remembering to breathe. I even now forget to breathe in Pilates or wherever. It's like, okay, Rachel, you got to breathe. Yes. You got to breathe. Yes. And then you need to keep breathing. And so not anything really earth shattering, but I think those are some things that we just tend to forget when we're in the process of doing so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it brings you the comfort and the ability to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to let some people in to go with you.
Yeah.
And then also realizing too, letting go of those people that have chosen differently.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah. You still love them.
We do.
Yeah. So.
And miss them.
Yeah, we do. And that's okay too. It's okay to miss people.
It is.
Yeah. Like I said, there's always hope.
There is.
That's the one thing I always look at, that there's always hope, that even through the hard times, even through the tough times, like you said, all the way through to 10 months, you had hope. You had hope that he's going to come through.
Yeah.
And not all hope is lost.
No.
And
no.
Sometimes it's just not right then.
Exactly.
And that, and that hope can get you through. And I've always said that sometimes the answer to God or to Jesus or to whomever you need to go to, the answer is always not right now. Sometimes the answer is not always right now.
Correct.
Maybe, and sometimes the answer is no.
Absolutely.
And that's okay to have that be the answer for you in that moment. But then sometimes the answer is, I'm going to give you hope and I'm going to help you through this in the moment, and you will move forward, because that's what you need to be able to move forward to get to the next moment and maybe the next question that could be coming later.
Exactly.
And yeah, sometimes it is hard when the answer is not right now.
Or no.
Or no. Yeah. And so you try so hard, and we just have to say, okay, well, you know better.
Yes.
And there is a plan.
And then we have to trust that.
I know. It is hard to trust when you want it right then and there.
Yeah.
I was like, no, but I want to, I even now, I sometimes call on my dad to help me. He shows up in dreams for me.
Okay.
So he, and so I call on him sometimes when I'm having a hard time with my mom. I was having a hard time a couple years ago, and I just called him. I just looked up. I was like, Dad, I need you so bad right now. Like, I need you to help me with Mom.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but I need you to help me get through this with Mom. And sometimes that's what I need.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, he shows up in dreams, and I don't know if your husband does, if he is.
Only once.
Yeah.
It's only been once.
My mom has said that my dad has shown up a couple times for her. And I hope it gives her comfort.
Absolutely.
Because my dad was my rock. Like, that was who he was for me.
Yeah.
And you always have that person in your life, but yeah, so when they're gone, it's hard when they're.
I still have both of my parents. They're 87.
Yeah,
Both of my
you're so
boys
lucky.
have all of the grandparents are still alive.
That's so wonderful.
Which is really, really unusual to be at this particular point.
And were they able, you said they moved in with you and they were there to the end.
Yes.
And then how much longer did they stay after?
They stayed through till the following, John passed in September. They stayed till the following January.
Wow.
Because then we got to the place where they wanted to parent me as I was parenting my kids, right?
Oh.
And I'm like, wait a second, you guys.
Yeah.
You've grown me up. I'm an independent thinking woman. I appreciate your input.
Yes.
However, if you're going to make me choose between you and my kids,
it's going to be my kids.
It is.
It's kids all the time.
And it's the kids.
and they should know that.
Yeah. But they were concerned for me.
Of course.
She's just lost her husband, and I get all of that. And so yes, they're back in Australia.
Okay.
Been there, no problem. John's parents, his dad's 92, his mom is 88.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, my boys all the time, I'm like, just call, just text. I said, if you I try to remind them too how special this is. And, Lexie, to your
really
point,
lucky.
We may not get the happily ever after that we thought, but the hopefully ever after does exist.
It does.
It does.
So, and I really appreciate it. And tell everyone, we didn't talk, our conversation is just a conversation. Rachel did write a book.
Oh, yeah.
And so tell everybody the name of your book so that they can go find it.
Oh, yeah. That book, it's called The Widow Chose Red.
Yeah.
My Journey with Jesus, John, and ALS. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Because I did wear red at the Celebration of Life service. And the cover of the book is actually a real picture with me and the two boys. And they are wearing their father's ties. They're in suits and they're wearing a tie from their dad. And I'm in red. So it's available at Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all those great places. My website is Spirited Prosperity.
Yes.
You can get it there.
Yes. And all of this we'll make sure will be on our title page and in our bios. So
beautiful.
You don't have to worry about writing. If you can't get it written down, if you're driving, if you're listening to us while you're driving, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't write it.
Exactly.
It will all be available for you at the end. So we'll make sure everybody has all your socials, every way to follow you, book, all of it.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. And if I can lend my support in any way, shape, or form, please, contact me, get in touch with me.
Yes. And I know that we will also be adding a link for the ALS Foundation.
Yes, the book, the proceeds from the book benefit the Live Like Lou Foundation, which has been so supportive of families who are suffering from ALS. And so, yes.
We'll make sure all of that will be linked because maybe you might be going through a journey of trying to find what the answers are, and maybe that will be a helpful tool if there's some similarities.
Absolutely.
In diagnoses, whatever it might be. So Rachel brought us the song of the week.
Oh,
it's my favorite part. So this is something, it's almost a tribute to my dad just because he was such an audiophile. So that is why I love having a song of the week.
Okay.
And so I have all of his records. I have his stereo. I have, you name it. I have it. And so music, when I think of my dad, it's music and is a big part of mine. So song of the week. And I always say, I try to bring songs that I asked you to bring a song that uplifts you or makes you feel good, gets you out of your funk. And it does not matter what genre. If there is a song that makes you feel good, there it is.
Bring it.
It's speaking to you, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
So what is the song of the week?
Be the OJs, I'll be there.
Hey,
we
got two, because this is going to be a two-parter. So we got two. So we have Born for This by Mandisa.
Yes.
And
I'll Be There.
I'll Be There
by the OJs.
Yeah. So there you go. 2 for 1.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good one too. So yes. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time, for coming to talk to me and having this wonderful conversation. And just everybody who's out there listening, know that hope is not lost.
No.
And that you can get through anything. And make sure you hug those kiddos too.
Absolutely.
Give them a big hug, squeeze them until they think their head's going to pop. I do this to my son every day. He hasn't run away yet, but I'm pretty strong because I got a tight grip.
Yeah, just wait till he's taller and bigger than you.
He's getting there.
Happen.
He's not quite, but he's almost there. So,
exactly.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you, Rachel, for coming. And I'll see y'all next time, okay? Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I really hope you learned some new things and enjoyed it. If you did, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, tell everybody you know to also listen. Maybe they'll learn some new things, how to help each other out, and find us at Sandwich Stories Podcast. Thanks so much.